So what we're doing today is we're going to show you how to make the most delicious homemade burger and chips that you don't need to feel guilty about. This is a way of, I guess we're trying to show you that you can still eat burger in a bun with fries and relish and not feel guilty about it. This is packed full of great food. We've got some lean beef, we've got sweet potato chips, we've got a lovely bun, we're going to make some gorgeous minced tomato and onion salsa. Although it's not super fast, it's also not a hugely lengthy recipe, and if I can do it, anyone can. I'm not a chef, I'm not a particularly great cook, as you'll probably see during this video, and honestly this recipe is quite simple. So we're going to start off by doing the sweet potato fries. So we're just going to peel the sweet potato. Now sweet potato is a great alternative to our typical normal potatoes. It's low in calories and it's also packed full of vitamins and minerals. It's especially rich in potassium and vitamin A and vitamin C. Loads of fibre in, and I think I actually prefer the taste, and I love the colour. So we're just going to chop this potato up into fairly thin fries that we're going to parboil and then bake in the oven. Now these chips, they can be as thick or as thin as you like. We're making these pretty thin, largely because it's a bit quicker, it reduces the cooking time. But if you like really chunky fries, then feel free to make them as chunky as possible. Actually, the bigger they are, in a way, the healthier they are, because the less surface area you have to absorb fat. And although we're not frying them, we will be covering them, not really covering, but kind of putting a little bit of olive oil on them. So I guess, in theory, the bigger they are, the less fat you'll have on them. So here are our fries. And what we're cooking here is enough for one person. So it's one fairly small sweet potato. So we're taking these and we're going to pop them in our pan and parboil them just for a few minutes. So we've got our pan here. Now, as I said, these will take about 5 minutes. If they're chunkier chips that you've decided to have, they may take a little bit longer. You don't want them to be completely soft. You're just parboiling them. You just want to take the edge off and make them a little bit tender. So what we've done for the sake of the video is to parboil some a little bit earlier. So these are the ones that I've already parboiled. So they're not particularly soft, but they're nice and tender. And what we're going to do is put a little bit of olive oil and some salt on. So we don't need much olive oil, just probably about, I'd say, a tablespoon in total, if that, and a little bit of salt, and just get your hands dirty and try and coat them in the oil. And you can see they're lovely and glistening now. I'm just going to rinse my hands, and then we're going to pop these in the oven. If you heat your oven to about gas mark 580 degrees, and then we'll just pop them onto the tray, and these will cook probably for about 15 minutes. The time will vary according to how large your chips are. So we'll just pop those in there and get on with the burgers. So the burgers, a lot of people don't even think about making a burger, but making a burger is so easy and it's so much cheaper than buying burgers. Burger mince, if you buy it from a butcher or from the meat counter in your supermarket, you'll be amazed often at how much cheaper this is. Not only that, but you get only the amount that you want. The amount of times that and I know a lot of other people have gone to the supermarket, you buy a 500 gram pack of mince and you actually only need 300 grams or perhaps 400 grams. If you're going to a counter or a butcher's, you can ask for that amount, and that really helps with portion control, which is another big thing for everybody today. You know, having the right portion size can help you maintain and control your weight. So, making the burgers, what we've got here is about 100 grams of meat. That's probably a little bit more, it's maybe 120 grams. So it'll make a nice big juicy burger. And we're going to need about 1/4 of an onion. So we'll just chop this up. We had 1/2 an onion, so we'll just use that bit. And although it's probably not essential, it's nice to just lightly fry your onion just to soften it a bit before you add it to the raw burger mix. So we've got our onion here and we're just going to go over and fry it. So we'll pop that in, but again, to save time, what we've done is we've already done some fried onion, which is here. It means we can just get on with making our burger. So this is 1/4 of an onion fried in a little bit of coconut oil. So if we tip the mince in, and then we add our onion. The last ingredient, because we're keeping these really, really simple, is an egg. Now, because we're doing a small portion to a single portion, things become a bit complicated because we actually need about 1/4 of an egg. So we're just going to try and do it roughly. And what the egg does is it just helps to bind everything together and helps the burger to keep its shape. So we'll just beat that egg lightly, and then we'll try and be as accurate as we can tipping it in. If you are only making a burger for you, go easy on the egg. It's always easy to add a bit more, but it's basically impossible to take it away once you poured it all in, and you might end up with a big sloppy mess. So we'll just put a tiny bit of egg in. And now is the time that you just have to get your hands really dirty. So just mix it all together. You want the onion to be as well distributed through the mince as possible. You can go to town on your flavourings for the burgers. You can add chilli, you could use red onion, you could add spring onion, coriander, you could do a bit of a Thai theme. Anything goes, and this really is it. So when you think you've got it all mixed up together, try and then form it into a nice shaped patty, and then we're going to pop it in the fridge just for about 20 minutes if you can. And what that does is it just helps everything to solidify, and it helps it to keep its shape whilst cooking. If you don't have the time to do this, then don't panic. It's not a complete disaster. It just may be that the burger's slightly more inclined to crumble when you're cooking. So there we go, got a lovely shaped burger, which looks very nice. So we're just going to pop this in the fridge. I'm just going to rinse my hands. And another tip that I always have when I'm cooking meat is I run a sink of hot soapy water so that I don't have to touch everything the way out. Right, so there's a little bit that I haven't touched. So we're just going to pop this into the fridge, as I said, for between 10 and 20 minutes. But we've already done one earlier, again, to save a bit of time. So we'll pop this in and then we can get going with cooking the burger. So we do a swap. Here's the burger that we made earlier, coin a phrase, and this is the one that we're going to cook. So we're going to go and just check our sweet potato wedges and see how they're doing, and then get going with the salsa before we cook our burger, and then that's done. So it's really not that difficult. So now, whilst we wait for the sweet potato wedges to finish, we're just going to make the salsa. So let's just clear a bit of space. Now this salsa is, it's such an easy thing to make. I first had it actually when I think I was in South America, and they used it as a garnish, and it's just the easiest thing. It was just chopped tomatoes, chopped red onion, and a bit of milk, mint, and we had it actually for breakfast on toast with avocado, and I've made it ever since because it's just so simple and so tasty, and it goes with basically anything. Use it as a dip. You can use it in sandwiches with mashed avocado. Use it on burgers. It goes well with tuna. And with chicken, basically anything. It's a lovely garnish. So what you need to do is finely chop, or as finely as possible. And my knife skills are far from great, so this is not going to be that fine, but just as fine as you can get it. If you end up losing lots of the seeds, it doesn't matter. It's actually probably a good thing because it means that it's less watery. So just chop this up, and using the fresh mint is just great. And again, fresh mint is so versatile and adds a lovely aroma, a lovely flavour to basically anything. I use it a lot in salads and hot drinks, hot fresh mint tea. Get rid of the stalk. Oops. So depending on how much salsa you want, obviously I'm not going to use both tomatoes, and I'm actually probably only going to use about a quarter of the onion because we only really need it for one burger. But if you've got the time, I always advise making more of this than you need because it keeps well in the fridge and it's so delicious. You'll probably find plenty of uses for it. So again, just as finely as you can, chop your onion, and then we're just about good to go. We just need to put a little bit of olive oil, some salt and pepper with this, and it's done, and that's it. And then by that time our sweet potato wedges should be just about finished, and then we can cook our burger. So if we just roughly put some of that in there, some of the salsa in, we take some of the leaves off. You only need the leaves really, not the stems. And then just roughly chop them so they're nice fine shreds of mint, and you can smell it already, it's so aromatic. Very good mix around all over my fingers, and now we'll put a little bit of olive oil. You don't need much, it's just, you don't even have to add it, I just quite like a bit of oil on it. A little bit of salt. And there you go, your salsa is done and smells absolutely amazing. So let's clear this stuff away, and then we'll go and get going with the burger. So I'm going to fry the burger, and to fry the burger I'm actually going to use coconut oil. It won't make it taste of coconuts, I promise. It's just a really good oil for frying, and although as you can see, it's saturated, so it's solid at room temperature, which means it's a saturated fat. It's actually a really healthy fat. It's made up of fats called medium chain triglycerides, which sounds a bit sciencey, but it's they don't behave in your body. They're not as damaging as other saturated fats that you find in kind of processed foods and pastries. So we're going to use just probably about a teaspoon of coconut oil, and as soon as the heat hits it, it liquefies immediately and releases a wonderful aroma. And then we're going to gently fry our burger. We'll just check the potato wedges again. And they are crisping up really nicely. Okay. So When the pan is hot, we'll pop it in. And obviously, you know, as you can see, we've just made a single burger and we've made chips from one sweet potato, but this is a great meal for feeding families. It's a, you know, and it's one that kids can eat, adults can eat. You don't need to feel bad about it. It's a healthy, good quality meal. And it's also not that expensive. You know, if you're buying meat from your local butcher, from your supermarket counter, you'll be amazed at what good value it can be. And the other ingredients really are not that expensive. And the amount of money that we can easily spend on a takeaway burger, this will be a fraction of that cost. So our coconut oil is nice and liquid now. So we're just going to pop our burger, and you see the fridge has just really helped the shape to form. And hopefully, there we go. It should hold its shape. Okay, so that's just bubbling away nicely. Now, the amount of time that you cook or you want to cook your burger for will vary from person to person. Although I like my steak medium, I tend to always have burgers cooked through. I tend to think that that's quite a good rule to follow if you're using mincemeat. So I like mine cooked the whole way through. You might have a different preference and you therefore might not need to cook your burgers for that long. But generally, again, it will depend on size, but as a rough guideline, this burger should be cooked through in about 8 to 10 minutes. So we'll see you in about 8 minutes. So here we go. So you can see this is a couple more minutes for the burger. It probably needed about 10 minutes in total. And the potato chips were ready at about the same time. And you can see that actually you get quite a lot from what was a fairly small sweet potato, our salsa and our delicious burger. So if we just put a little bit of the salsa on the top of our burger, you can add, you know, you might want to add a bit of mayonnaise or some low-fat creme fraiche. And there we go. You can see that, I mean, it looks delicious. It smells amazing, you'll have to take my word for it. But that's a really healthy, delicious meal. Yes, it wasn't ready in 15, 20 minutes, but actually there was nothing complicated about it. You know, I'm not a particularly good cook, and this was relatively simple. I just chopped the potato, parboiled it, baked it with a little oil. We made the burger, you saw how easy that was, and then popped it in a frying pan with a little oil. And then we chopped up the tomatoes, the onion and the mint, and there's our salsa done. So it's a very simple, very healthy, very cheap meal that all of the family can enjoy. The kids can get involved with making the salsa, or they can get involved in mixing the mince mixture for the burgers. It's a great meal, and this just shows you that you don't need to go and get a takeaway burger and chips. You can eat for less money, far more tasty meal at home in probably about 25-30 minutes, minus the time that it takes you to chill the burger. So have a go, experiment, try some spicy burgers. Like we said, you can add any filling that you want to the burger. Really nice wholemeal seeded bun we've got here, and the sweet potato chips are just delicious. So enjoy.